Hello and welcome. The Premier League is nearly over. We're reaching the finish line. Two teams that got us underway on Saturday. Liverpool won, Chelsea won. Mark Donaldson alongside Janusz Michallik. I enjoyed watching this game, Janusz. I thought there was a lot of good stuff. There was also a lot of bad stuff. There were a fair few talking points. What would you say is your biggest takeaway from what you witnessed?
Well, um, I can't believe I'm watching the defending Premier League champions and the club World Cup champions. That's what I'd say. I mean, yeah, you can always find some excitement there, but I've watched two teams without structure. I thought on the pitch I'm talking about to a degree very very similar, right? But this was a run of the mill in a proper league environment, be it Premier League or anywhere else. Yeah, there were some chances. Yeah, Szoboszlai hit the post, Van Dijk hit the crossbar. A couple of chances, couple of disallowed goals. It was okay, but here we are with two teams struggling. One still needs a point, or whatever, a couple of points to make sure that they're in the Champions League next season, and another one. Hoping, I'm talking about Chelsea, that others will do the job for them.
Do you think we saw today why these two teams are where they are? Because in parts of the game, before we get to the goals, I thought some of the attacking play was absolutely outstanding, but it wasn't enough of that. They're too inconsistent. You can see it. It's like a mid-handicapper playing golf. You know it's there, but it only happens from time to time. These two are better than that, though, aren't they?
Yeah, I think before the season, but let's start with Liverpool. I mean, for Liverpool, the problem with them and for Arne Slot in particular is that they're not very good at anything. I mean, let's start just about anywhere. Here we are for Liverpool at home, knowing that a win, for the most part, would guarantee them Champions League, right? There would have been another point needed, but they would have gotten it in some way or the other, right? So you get an early lead when you Liverpool. Then Van Dijk has an unbelievable chance to make it 2-0. But then, inexplicably, you allow Chelsea back in the game. This Chelsea Football Club, who themselves are a mess, let's be honest, on and off the pitch, a team that when you concede early, which Chelsea often do, you lose 6 straight in the Premier League. You pretty much sure, if you're Liverpool, if you continue to press them, they would just give up, right? The head would go down when you lose 6. The seventh is coming, but yet somehow Liverpool lets them in. So there are just no excuses for Liverpool in a way in which they've allowed Chelsea to get back in the game. And for long periods of time, it looked like Chelsea were going to run away with it, because if you look at Cucurella, he was pretty much doing whatever he wanted. The red carpet was rolled out for him. Curtis Jones or Frimpong didn't really know what to do with him. So yeah, I mean, very, very disappointing. I mean, that's the sort of season they've had. They consider to go from a set piece. That's 18 set pieces, and that Liverpool has conceded this season. So very, very disappointing.
Let's get to the goals. Didn't have to wait long for the first one. And it's a young lad who, I mean, I love the fact he's fearless. Rio Engamoa, and look, his decision making at time. He's young. Sometimes he could pass, but I love the fact he's fearless and he'll take on players. He sets up Gravenberch, and there's the opening goal. And Liverpool started off quickly.
Yeah, they did. I mean, he was, I mean, here we are with Liverpool, right? I mean, obviously injuries and all of that, but I mean, he was the most dangerous player on the pitch throughout, right? I mean, you saw the reaction of Liverpool fans when he was withdrawn. That stuff happens. I don't know if I would have done it, especially if I'm Arne Slot in the position that he's in when he's questioned, in particular about his game management. He didn't deserve to go off. Good movement, but a great strike. Let's be honest. I mean, Ngamoa did what everyone should do in that position. Very busy taking his defenders on, then seeing Gravenberch, who was in a better position, and he puts that away beautifully. We see these goals every day, everywhere now, and I think Gravenberch put that away well.
Liverpool after that had their moments, and there was a lot of fluency. At which point did the pendulum then swing the other way? At which point did Cucurella think, you know what, that Liverpool right-hand side is a weak link. I can get in behind there. At which point did Chelsea start to believe? Because once the pendulum swung, it swung in Chelsea's favour.
Well, yeah, I mean, I don't remember the exact moment, but when you are playing at home, you score that goal, as I've mentioned, and you have a chance to close the match, right? You don't drop off. Something that Liverpool does all the time, and this is what really, the questions come about Arne Slot, because that's what we talk about. And again, you know me, I'm not the one that wants to fire managers, but it didn't look to me like the players were listening to Arne Slot. I'm assuming that he wanted him to press. They don't know how to press. I mean, there's so many things wrong with that team. There's no press, no counter press, just allowing Chelsea to take over the game because they've dropped off. And it was, as I mentioned, that was that Van Dijk incredible chance on a half volley when he was free with 2-0. I don't think Chelsea gets back in the game, but there was an invitation from Liverpool at home, of all places, while leading 1-0 and having a Champions League in their pocket. Just inexplicable to me how they just kind of, dropped off 20, 30, 40 yards and then just allowed Chelsea to possess the ball. And then, of course, as I've mentioned, Cucurella was playing well, but then again, just about everyone from Chelsea started to believe, you know what? Yeah, we're losing, but this game is not over. We have plenty of time, and Liverpool is allowing us to play. I just don't get that. That's why I will forever question if Arne Slot is the man to lead Liverpool next season. This is not a team that's playing for him. This is not a team with the sort of intensity that's needed. This is a team that's defensively today. Forget the wide areas, right? Van Dijk and Konate with no help from Curtis Jones or Frimpong, and on the right hand side, Kerkesh, and here we are. Two teams that spend most money this summer, and if we're still on Liverpool, not one player has paid off. Ekitike to a certain degree, a little bit, but everybody else, money not well spent, at least this season. It can change, and Chelsea, I'm sure you get to them as well, all over the shop.
It's just such a surprise, given that you and I and everyone else on ESPN FC spoke about Liverpool's transfer window, how good it was. The players that they brought in were excellent. They kind of addressed every single problem position. Maybe right centre half was the one that they didn't get, Mark Gahey, of course. So for them to get what they've got, and obviously injuries have hampered Alexander Isak, it's been a very disappointing season, and it was disappointing defending when Chelsea got the equaliser, but it's a brilliant ball in. And Enzo Fernandez he's had a super season. He's a world-class talent, but that ball shouldn't get all that way, should it?
No, it shouldn't. It was a great delivery in that area, as we often talk, for goalkeepers and defenders, a difficult one to deal with. If you don't attack the first ball immediately to clear it, that's what can happen, right? If there was a touch or not, it doesn't really matter. It was a great delivery, and that's what happens. I think it was Fofana there. Even his presence there, right, froze the goalkeeper in that situation. As a defender, I can tell you that it's impossible to deal with when the ball is delivered in such way. And as I've said, 18 times, right, this season, something like that, 18, 19 times where Liverpool has conceded on set pieces. So the drop-off is considerable for Liverpool Football Club. And in my book, it shouldn't be that way. You can always drop off a little bit. You can talk about motivation. You can talk about injuries, but you look at the spats that Mo Salah has had, and just recently, I think, right, he was talking about the standards dropping off at Liverpool, and look, his standards has dropped off a little bit, but he's right about that. The standards have dropped off at Liverpool all over the place. It's for everyone to see, and Arne Slot is responsible for that as a manager.
You're very passionate about Liverpool, and obviously if we had more time to go in depth, we could analyse certain things. But I want to talk a little bit about Chelsea. They've not been on a good run of form. They were looking to avoid losing 7 straight matches for only the second time in their history. The last time was back in 1952. They did so, but they're still a million miles from where they want to be. They've got the FA Cup final next week. They conceded again today. That's 14 straight in the Premier League. That's the worst since 1991 from a team perspective, is it a case of try and win the FA Cup, regroup, but the most important thing is the next manager, and that appointment has to be spot on in the summer?
It is, and a decision needs to be made, right? I mean, I look at Chelsea as a rudderless club in the boardroom, on the pitch, in terms of leadership. I guess if you're Chelsea, you have to make a decision. Are you want to be a financial club, or you want to be one that's that's good on the pitch? That's the most important thing, to make that decision and distinguish that, right? You need obviously both. We've mentioned Liverpool spent a lot of money, Chelsea, everybody spent a lot of money, but you can see the turnaround very, very quickly. You see the progress of Arsenal, right? You see Manchester City, who started terribly, but that rebuild, they've spent the money as well. But you can see it on the pitch that in the end, Pep Guardiola was able within the season to make them contenders, right? Look at the change at Manchester United. I mean, that's the biggest one of them all, because within the season they didn't have a chance to make a lot of changes, with one exception of a manager who came in, organized the team in a simple way. With Chelsea, obviously the situation is much worse than Liverpool's right now. I suppose they'll take the FA Cup, but for a team that spends that sort of money, the most important thing is to be in the Champions League continuously, not to mention being in a position to challenge. Right now, they're looking towards Villa to help them, right? If they don't do it, it's going to be difficult to see how Chelsea are going to get into Champions League.
There are 4 managers right now who are single digits in the next Chelsea manager odds race. I'm going to give you those 4 with their odds. You're going to tell me, in your opinion, which of these 4 do you think would be best suited to becoming the next Chelsea manager? Of course, there are others, but these are the 4 with the single digits. The favourite is Xabi Alonso at 6-4. Felipe Luis is 2-1. Andoni Iraola is 5-2. And Marco Silva is 6-1.
Yeah, Iraola, hands down. There's talk about him possibly at Manchester United as well. Fine line between two. I think he'd do fine with both, but obviously knowing Premier League very well. But also a manager who's been able to work with young players. That's where Chelsea are. I think the player, a manager that understands what the Premier League is all about. And I think for me, if I had to take a chance, he'd be the first one. I don't really truly know how other ones fit as well. There's always going to be some questions about Xabi Alonso, right? Another new environment, all that. I think, Chelsea have to make the simplest of decisions, right? So it's not questioned later on. And I think Iraola, by virtue of what he's done with Bournemouth, which is unbelievable, while losing great players, but being able to bring young players into the team and make them successful immediately, right? So that ticks all the boxes. And I think even if he went to Chelsea and didn't work out, it'll be hard to say for anyone, well, that didn't make sense. Felipe Luis doesn't make sense, right? He's been away from the Premier League for such a long time, still very much inexperienced. Marco Silva, perhaps, but I still have my doubts. There's that jump. Okay, second maybe in that one. Who did you mention? Did I mention them all? But really, it doesn't really matter. Iraola for me would be the one that I'd go after.
I'm just looking at the list of Chelsea managers, those that have taken charge of at least one game since COVID. Frank Lampard, Thomas Tuchel, Graham Potter, Bruno Saltor, Frank Lampard again, Mauricio Pochettino, Enzo Maresca, Callum McFarlane first time, Liam Rosenior, and now Callum McFarlane second time. There's a lot of good managers in there. Is the problem a lot deeper than that?
Yeah, clear goal. Understand that if you play well and you do well on the pitch, the money will come, right? The financial vehicle of us or everyone talking about 5, 6, 7, 8-year contracts, young players coming in, all of that has got to be put aside. With success comes financial success. Look at Arsenal, for example, right? Just the Champions League alone, they're in the final, and this is what, 130 million right there. So it just simplifying things. Forget about the 30, 40, or 50 players that you have. They're young. Yes, there's potentials. They're all over Europe right now, but that shouldn't matter. Right now, you have to identify a squad of what I would say 16, 17, maybe 18 players at most. Those are the players that you need to concentrate on. Once again, you have to surround those young players with experience. Chelsea should know that very well. They were at their best, the most successful, when they had the leaders, right? I don't think it matters for us, but you need the Drogbas and Lampards and John Terrys of the world. You're not going to win anything without a core and spine of very experienced players that are willing to put everything on the line to not only help the young players, but to do everything to win. Winners are very, very easy to identify. People always talk about, no, you look around and you know exactly, pick a team around in Europe. And I think every one of us, it doesn't take an expert, can identify who the leaders are and what it takes. Again, Arsenal, good example of that. In that progress over the years, right? What was needed? It's taken them so long. They still haven't won it, but you can clearly see how they were building. And I think Chelsea has simply just got to go back to what worked, because they were super successful not that long ago.
Well, we'll end with that, and that's perfectly segueing into this. It's the FA Cup final next weekend. Chelsea haven't beaten Manchester City in any of the last 13 games, but you spoke about their success. The last time Chelsea beat Manchester City was the Champions League final in 2021. Is it a puncher's chance for them against City next weekend at Wembley, or is it more than that?
Yeah, I think in a one-off game, I mean, we've saw glimpses of Chelsea throughout all those games, even today a little bit, right? I think, they're on a day, I think anyone's capable. We've seen that. Much, much smaller clubs have had success, right? Let's just see, Crystal Palace last season, right? Was it against City? Jesus, so many games. I mean, it's always possible, but of course, Manchester City will be clear favorites in my opinion. But yeah, that's a possibility. If Chelsea win it, it's a trophy. You can't forget that. I think supporters will enjoy that. But the moment they enjoy, that moment and Wembley, the realization and reality will come back to them thinking, well, next season, once again, we're not going to be amongst the best in Europe.
No one gave them much of a chance. Yeah,
I mean,
get that.
There's still outside chance with what Villa may or may not do, and Chelsea still has to win out the rest of the games.
They do, but no one really gave them a chance against PSG in the Club World Cup final, and look how that turned out. So that's next weekend, and they're off the schneid. There were 6 consecutive defeats coming into this one, but they've finally found a way not to lose. Next week's the big one against Manchester City. And from a Liverpool perspective, a lot of positives in that game, but a problem when they just didn't have the intensity and they couldn't fix the right-hand side. And the manager took off their player who was most likely to create, and the fans didn't like that. So I think Liverpool just want the season to end. The big question is, who will be their manager at the start of next season? Thanks for your company today. Bye for now.